All right, guys. My people. On this particular one, I thought I should come live so that I can put them together instead of making it as a pre-recorded videos. You all know that Don Pedro Obaseki was dehumanized a couple of weeks ago in Edo State, Benin City, to be precise. Yes, by some hoodlums, criminals, tout, agberus, who claimed that it was the Oba Palace that sent them to bring Don Pedro Obaseki to the palace. He was dehumanized, he was beaten, he was naked. In fact, he was stripped naked. There's a video that is circulating on WhatsApp that I'm not allowed to showcase here on Nigeria Watch due to the rules of YouTube. This man was literally stripped naked. The video that you've watched, was not the end of the particular video. There's another video, that they are holding on to prosecute these criminals, to court. But I cannot showcase it here on Nigeria Watch Media. But regardless of what, I'm one of the advocates that advocated that these people must be persecuted for a possible prosecution so that it can send a deterrent to every person that have these satanic moves prospectively. Everybody should be entitled to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, regardless of whatever that happens. If it resulted to penalty, let the palace, the Oba of Benin Palace, do that themselves. Not Agberus, touts, criminals, killers doing it and taking laws into their hands. But the beautiful thing about this whole presentation, or rather this broadcast today, that Obaseki's family, the former governor of Edo State, the victim himself, Don Pedro Obaseki, they have started the lawsuit against these people. I really want to see how our laws work this time. And I want to see who will be behind these people, who will give them lawyer, because we need to know the names of whoever that will stand behind them, that will defend them. We want to know. Because, listen, I'm not doing this because I'm a fan of Don Pedro Obaseki. I'm doing this because I'm against whatever that is wrong. What is wrong is wrong. I don't support anything to do with wrongdoing. So this is why we are doing this today, my people. But I'd like us to start from here before we take the full video. Let's take this, guys. I can say I don't have anybody right there on the comment section yet. Okay, I have people just coming in now. I have my mother right there, mother of all Mommy Diaspora. Thank you very much, Mommy, for joining us this afternoon. And thank you, Julian Salami. God bless you. I really do appreciate you. Good afternoon to you all. Let's take it from here. Then I'll take you back to the video, how this man was treated.
For 28th of December, 2025 in Benin City, are clearly criminal. His right to life was threatened by the criminal gang that descended on him while he was playing football in the heart of Benin City. He was abducted, stripped naked, and beaten to a pulp by the well-armed gang. As a matter of fact, in order to disperse the crowd that gathered on the football field, these criminals shot into the air. So again, they were armed. We're going to find out whether they have licenses to bear arms. But clearly, there was an attempt on the life of Dr. Pedro Obaseki. As if those terrorist acts were not enough, he was stripped naked and paraded. Again, his right to dignity was violated. His right to personal liberty was breached in the sense that for several hours he was captured. paraded and led to the palace of the Oba of Benin, who ordered that Dr. Obaseki be taken to the police station. You will have expected that the assailants would be arrested, made to make a statement by the police, and confronted with the allegations of criminality they had perpetrated during the day. To Dr. Obaseki's utter chagrin, he was detained in the police station for about 5 hours and only allowed to go home after making a statement, after being forced to make a statement. In other words, he became the suspect while the criminals who had wanted to kill him were making guests of him in the police station. Up till now, none of the criminal elements have been arrested and brought to book as expected under the laws of this country. So, it's not just about Dr. Obaseki. The whole idea is to use this particular case to make a point that we operate in a civilized society whereby the rights of citizens guaranteed by the Constitution will have to be respected. The guys who subjected him to such horrendous brutalization will have to face the full weight of the law will have to descend on them. Right. And that is the only way to make.
Let's turn to a disturbing case that raises urgent questions about law, power, and the protection of human dignity in Nigeria. Dr. Pedro Obaseki has announced his decision to seek justice following what he describes as a brutal public abduction and assault in Benin City in late December. According to a detailed statement released through his legal team, Dr. Obaseki was forcibly taken in public, violently assaulted, stripped, threatened with death, and unlawfully detained for several hours, an ordeal that was recorded and circulated. He maintains that these acts amount to grave criminal violations under Nigerian law and says his decision to pursue legal redress is driven not by vendetta or politics, but by the need for accountability, deterrence, and the protection of other citizens. While claims were made during the incident that the attackers acted on behalf of the Oba of Benin, those claims have been formally and categorically denied by the Benin Traditional Council. A clarification Dr. Obaseki says he accepts and places on record. Legal proceedings are now being initiated against the alleged perpetrators and any individuals found through due process to have enabled the acts. Well, leading this effort is one of Nigeria's foremost human rights lawyers, Mr. Femi Falana, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. And Mr. Falana joins me now on the line from Lagos. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Falana, for joining us. I know you've had an incredibly busy day, and I am eternally grateful to you for joining us. Now, based on the facts as you understand them, what specific offences under Nigerian law are you alleging were committed against Dr. Pedro Obaseki?
Well, the events of 28th of December 2025 in Benin City are clearly criminal. His right to life was threatened by the criminal gang that descended on him while he was playing he was abducted, stripped naked, and beaten to a pulp by the well-armed gang. As a matter of fact, in order to disperse the crowd that gathered on the football field, these criminals shot into the air. So again, they were armed. We're going to find out whether they have licenses to bear arms. But clearly, there was an attempt on the life of Dr. Pedro Obaseki. As if those terrorist acts were not enough. He was stripped naked and paraded. Again, his right to dignity was violated. His right to personal liberty was breached in the sense that for several hours he was captured, paraded, and led to the palace of the Oba of Benin, who ordered that Dr. Obaseki be taken to the police station. You will have expected that the assailants would be arrested, made to make a statement by the police, and confronted with the allegations of criminality they had perpetrated during the day. To Dr. Obaseki's utter chagrin, he was detained in the police station for about 5 hours and only allowed to go home after making a statement, after being forced to make a statement. In other words, he became the suspect while the criminals who had wanted to kill him were making guests of him in the police station. Up to now, none of the criminal elements have been arrested and brought to book as expected under the laws of this country. So, it's not just about Dr. Obaseki. The whole idea is to use this particular case to make a point that we operate in a civilized society whereby the rights of citizens guaranteed by the Constitution will have to be respected. The guys who subjected him to such horrendous brutalization will have to face the full weight of the law will have to descend on them. Right. And that is the only way to make a point, that this country does not encourage brigandage.
Absolutely, indeed. And this case, as you have clearly set out there, Mr. Falano, this case involves disturbing allegations. And clearly, from what you've said, obviously, the court will have to make its determination. But it sounds like the evidentiary threshold appears to have been met for criminal liability to attach to the case. Now, Dr. Obaseki's statement describes the incident as terrorism-related violence. On what legal basis does this incident meet that definition, and why is that classification significant?
Well, under the Terrorism Act of 2022, once you kidnap or abduct citizens and subject them to brutalization of their person, and in the process expose them to ridicule, threaten their lives, or kill them. These are terrorist acts. But also, under the Anti-Torture Act of 2017, any person who subjects a Nigerian to physical, psychological, and mental torture is liable to be prosecuted. And the penalty is 25 years imprisonment, no option of fine. If the victim dies in the process, the torturer will be charged with murder. And that is without prejudice to the right of the victim or the members of the family of the victim to sue for compensation. We are going to put these laws to test.
Indeed, and
so that the point can be made. The point can be made that nobody is above the law in this country.
so
Whoever has sent these guys will have to be vicariously liable in a civil court for their actions.
So there is the issue of physical harm. There is, you talked about public stripping, parading, even live streaming, all things related to human dignity, constitutional rights, and so on. But the attackers allegedly claimed they were acting on the authority of the Oba of Benin, claims that have since been formally denied. But legally, how serious is impersonation or abuse of claimed authority in cases like this?
Where our law does not allow any person to engage in criminal acts on behalf of another person. So there is no vicarious liability in crimes in this country. In this instance, the Oba of Benin has dissociated himself, or the Benin Traditional Council has dissociated the Oba of Benin from the terrorist acts. So these guys are now on their own, and they are going to pay dearly for their criminal acts.
And are these proceedings...
Apart from
the
criminal aspect, you also have the civil aspect of the whole violations of the right of Dr. Pedro Obaseki.
And are these proceedings limited to the individuals who carried out the attacks, or could liability extend to anyone who facilitated, enabled, or failed to intervene? And that, obviously, failure to intervene involves the police.
For sure, the fact that the Edo State Police Command, has not arrested and charged these guys under the law, somebody will have to give some explanation. The detention of Dr. Obaseki for 5 hours in a police station in Benin City will have to be explained to the authorities. And of course, the endorsement of the brutalization of his person will have to be explained by the police. And I do hope we're going to initiate criminal proceedings. We're going to ask the authorities to also invoke appropriate disciplinary measures so that police officers will not look the other way why unarmed citizens of this country, law-abiding citizens of this country, are subjected to such brutalization without any justification whatsoever.
And
of course, for the criminal elements involved, it is their business to disclose to the law enforcement agencies upon the commencement of criminal proceedings who sent them, on whose authority they were acting, and if they want to bear the penalty alone, so be it.
And let me ask you this then, and you are obviously a very experienced lawyer. You're a constitutional lawyer, you're a human rights lawyer, you're a criminal lawyer. So you know all these cases, you know all these things, but a lot of Nigerians may not necessarily be as au fait, let me put it that way, with the law as you are. So if I ask you questions that seem a little bit sort of, pedantic, please don't take the time to answer it for us. What obligations does the state, particularly the police and the security agencies, have when such a public and violent incident occurs in broad daylight?
Charles, our law has left these guys behind. And that is the lesson that will be learned in this case. One, there are not less than 10 decisions of our courts that, to the effect that even criminal suspects cannot be paraded because they are presumed innocent until the contrary is proved by the state. In this case, it is worse, because nobody has alleged that Dr. Pedro Obaseki committed any offense known to law. Secondly, our courts have also condemned the brutalization of citizens in this country. And that was what culminated in the enactment of the Anti-Torture Act of 2017, which itself was a domestication of the Anti-Torture Convention ratified by Nigeria. In other words, meting out torture, subjecting Nigerians to torture, has been criminalized. Again, in several decisions of our courts, illegal arrests of citizens, illegal detention of citizens, and violations of the right to dignity have been condemned by our courts. Colossal damages have been awarded to victims of human rights abuse in our country. And of course, the courts have had cause to direct the attorneys general of states and the attorney general of the federation to prosecute criminal elements who may be well connected in the society. So, in many areas, the law is settled as far as the duty on law enforcement authorities in Nigeria, as well as on citizens, to respect the human rights of fellow Nigerians.
Rights bodies. I mean, what role do they play in a case like this, and does that signal a lack of confidence in domestic remedies or simply an added layer of oversight?
Well, our courts in the area of human rights our courts have been up and doing. As a matter of fact, under the Fundamental Rights Enforcement Procedure Rules, 2009, even if Dr. Obaseki had not briefed our law firm as concerned citizens, as human rights defenders, we have the local standard to go to court and make the point that this primitive conduct cannot be tolerated in our country. So our law has developed in the area of human rights. In other words, like the late Justice Kayode Esho said, in the case of Fawoemi and Akilu, we are all our brothers' keepers as far as human rights are concerned.
Let me ask you
But
this.
what's in the case of this? Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Let me ask you this. Just beyond this case, because I mean the points you're making, and I think these are so crucial, the points that you're making, and the fact that Nigerians of all stripes and shades hopefully are listening to you this evening. Beyond this case, what message does this send to Nigerians about the rule of law, especially at a time when public violence and impunity appear to be rising in this country?
Well, the message that we're going to put across is that law-abiding citizens, unarmed citizens, cannot have their rights violated either by the state or private individuals. It's number one. Number two, we also want to make the point that impunity, the manifestation of impunity in our country, will have to stop. Of course, we also want to challenge powerful individuals in the society who may want to send lumpen elements and thugs to harass citizens. That those days are gone, when they could get away with murder. So at the end of the day, several lessons will be learned from this case. And of course, in the process, we are going to conscientize Nigerians. We are going to mobilize Nigerians to learn to defend their rights. Because I must tell you, Charles, Nigeria today has some of the best human rights legislations in the world. I have mentioned the provisions. I've referred to the Anti-Torture Act,
Right.
the Terrorism Act, the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Edo State,
Right. Okay.
and of course, Chapter 4 of the Constitution that protects the rights of Nigerians, and indeed, all persons living in Nigeria.
Right. Well, we'll be watching this case.
Even under brutal military dictators,
Right.
we never allowed criminals and state officials to subject to Nigerians to such horrendous, humiliating,
Right.
degrading treatment.
Well, we'll be watching this case very closely, and I want to thank you very much indeed, Mr. Falana, for joining us. And
calling for an urgent police investigation. The incident occurred on Sunday, 28 December 2025, while Dr. Obaseki was playing football at Uwa Primary School in Benin City. He was reportedly attacked and forcibly taken to the Oba Benin's palace over alleged comments made at a public event in London.
In a statement on the 29th of December 2025, Amnesty International Nigeria described the act as barbaric and unlawful, urging the Nigerian police force to prosecute those responsible and calling on the palace to denounce the incident. Obaseki later described the experience as traumatic and humiliating, saying he was forcibly abducted. The incident has continued to draw public outrage and demands for accountability. Joining us this morning is the man himself, Dr. Pedro Obaseki. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. I thank the Lord that I'm alive to do this interview.
We're glad to have you.
We're really glad to have you. And I must start by saying that we're so sorry to see, what you've had to go through, and I cannot imagine the emotional and mental turmoil that it's, taking on you. But let's first get to hear from you. How are you?
I feel a lot better, and with the support of persons and institutions like you, I actually told myself and I told my children that I am going to be the last victim of this kind of elemental brigandage. So I see myself like a carrier. I am a very ardent student of Wole Soyinka, who happened to be my teacher growing up. And in every situation, when change wants to occur, there must be a John the Baptist. So I see myself now as a carrier, someone who has been used as a sacrificial lamb so as to liberate a lot who might have gone through this kind of, I use the word, elemental brigandage. I was not only assaulted, it is a step-by-step situation. I was abducted, kidnapped. I was mentally raped, and I was publicly humiliated. And the bad side of it is that when you commit a crime, then you should wait for the repercussion. But my problem now is, I don't even know what my crime was. Maybe if I did know, it would be easier to bear. But I'm not fazed. I had to navigate that ordeal so that I'm alive, because dead men don't talk, dead men don't grant interviews. But I thank God that I am alive, and I'm not emotionally beaten, though traumatized, but I am not going to let this lay low so as not to disappoint all those for whom my lashes were taken. So when I look at my back is totally lacerated. I just smile and I say, thank God, although I'm almost 60, I was able, by April I'll be 15. And I thank God. And I want to thank everybody. I want to appeal to my children that this was a sacrifice that everybody had to make. I bore the pain, but the pain was carried for me by everybody. So, and that gives me elemental succor. I am proud that I survived. And having to undergo this 3 days after the birth of Christ was for me an epiphany.
I would like us to go back to the day that this unfortunate incident occurred, at the moment where you were accosted at the football pitch. What happened and what was going through your mind in that moment?
I was shocked, because if I knew something like this was going to happen, I'm not that stupid. I grew up in Benin. I have always been part and parcel of the landscape. From primary school, apart from Sojourns in Warri, where I also grew up. And in the last 10 to 15 years, I've relocated back to Benin after I retired as a managing director with Dar Communications. That was December 2013. I've returned to Benin. I've run to be governor, and then come from broadcasting prior to that, filmmaking and being a university lecturer, into farming. So I farm in Benin. I have both a livestock cattle ranch and a rice production setup in Benin. So I play football every Saturday and Sunday with the ex-footballers. I also used to play football as a younger person. So that day was the end of year. And that day, normally every end of year, as the patron of the Uwa All-Stars in Benin, and the Edo All-Stars also in Benin, I usually we join to do a Christmas celebration. So that day I brought rice for my brothers, so that everybody goes on with at least 10 kg of rice as part of my communal engagement with my persons. So the first half just ended, and I just went to sit so as to take a glass of water or something. And these persons I have never known before just ran at me, and brandishing, opening their hand, brandishing guns and stuff. I was shocked. I was shocked. That is the least I could say. Shocked. And that was how I started. And I'm sure because of the guns they were brandishing, I was told off my feet, dragged back into the football pitch, almost bare-chested. I had to appeal to them. When they told me they'd be sent, it's all about the videos. Those who don't understand that they would be sent to accost me and take me to the palace of the Oba. I have no problem with my palace. I have no problem with the Oba prior to that. And the whole thing turned into something else. So persons were stopped from even stopping them since they were armed and we were just footballers. And I was dragged along the street of people who know Benin, along the street of Ikibisama. I was taken from just beside our primary school shares the same compound with the St. Joseph Catholic Church, one of the first churches in Benin. And ironically, a piece of land where my great-grandfather had donated to the Catholic Church years ago in the early parts of the last century. And I was dragged along until they got me to Apapava. Apapava is a major thoroughfare that houses almost all the commercial places in Benin, banks, and the Holy Arosa Church. The Holy Arosa Church was founded around 1550, when the white people first came to Benin, when the Portuguese came to Benin. That's why they call that place Apapava, which is actually Papavaya. That is the Pope's road, which was changed to Apapava in Edo language. So, and I got there, they stripped me naked. When I say naked, I was wearing I was wearing a yellow football jersey, and I was stripped there. The Oba usually goes there for his church service once upon a while, and people were gathered there. So the others joined them, and they hauled me through the streets to Ring Road. Ring Road is the epicenter of Benin, where almost 7 or 8 of the major road arteries in Benin converge. And there they actually even took up my underpants. So I was naked. That is in my Adam state. I was happy that they didn't record those ones. I think I would have been too traumatized now. But I had to fight. That was when they used canes on my back. And until they got me back my underpants, which was like a tight boxer, before they dragged me to the palace of the Oba. I had to be brave, but at the same time, I had to be wise. So I started begging them. And then as I got to the palace, the boys who were doing this, of course, they were naming themselves. And I know their names now. I know at least the leaders, about 7 or 8 of them know them. We know them, everybody in Benin knows them. If you saw the attack on Moa, many of them were also part of this setup. So and they kept saying that they were I was asked to be brought to the palace. So when they came to the palace, I decided I will go with you because I don't have a problem with the palace. By the time we got in there, that was what they were telling me that my crime was that I went to London during a meet and greet between the ex-governor, my elder brother, my first cousin, Don Obaseki, where after addressing the crowd, that was on the 30th of November, I ended by saying, Edo here la talk bay. Edo here la talk bay means may the entire Edo land live and prosper. And their anger was, I did not say Oba la talk bay, which literally translates to may the Oba live long and prosper. I mean, if that was a crime, and as someone who has championed the culture of our people, I first started making my first writing on the Benin culture was in 1989, and as a young boy who had just joined drama and theater growing up, I was in the very first IMU Pot of Life. I was barely 16 or 17. Now I'm almost 59. So if you minus it, I've been in this business of promoting my culture for more than 42 years. And I still remain the only Edo man who have been awarded by the palace, particularly by the palace of the father of the present king. I am the recipient of the Obairidiawa Award for Excellence, not once, not twice, but thrice, 3 times. I'm the only Benin man that has achieved that. I am not who I am just for it. I'm who I am because of my Beninese. And I've championed that and the entire Midwest Edo Delta culture. So I felt a little distorted. So they said that was my crime. If that was a crime, I should be summoned and I will go to the palace. I have deep reverence for the Oba of Benin because I'm an Oba. Every Benin man is called Obia or Oba, an Oba's male. So I didn't understand, but it was obvious to me, very obvious, that these persons were playing out a much larger script. But luckily, for me, they are taking me to I was told to be taken by one of the chiefs to the side, and in his translation, he said that anyone who is an Ohiomba means enemy of the Oba. Any man who was an Ohiomba, that person should be put aside for the day, and then later they can deal with it because the Oba was going to Holy Arosa for a celebration. But as I saw the Oba's Rolls Royce pass me, I had to rush because they had stopped recording then. And he went down, looked at me, and that was when they called someone to put me in the Oba's Hilux, a Hilux truck with police officers and some persons who were wearing the forest guard uniforms. And I was taken within the convoy of the Oba. But as the Oba entered Akpakpava, they now turned into Oba Market Road and took me straight to the Oba Market police station. Getting there, people now started gathering because they had noticed the altercation through Ring Road. And there I was detained until later the police commissioner came and put me straight that I would be released pending clearance from the Oba. So altercations, of course, calls were being made. I had none of my phones with me, and I realized it had gone viral. I was happy that persons, including ex-presidents of this country, ministers and co, had intervened. Benin persons at home and in diaspora had intervened, the place had gathered. And this started at about 11 in the morning, because we play ball in the morning. And at about 5 o'clock, the police commissioner came for the third time and said that I could be released. But what shocked me was when he said, and the Oba said he was in pressing charges. And I was shocked. Pressing charges. They also said during the whole altercation that I was going to be the first in the elemental attack on anybody called Obaseki. If they deal with me, maybe and Godwin should come to Benin. I didn't know why they keep placing me and Godwin. They will also do same to the ex-governor. And in fact, I did not see this as just an attack on me. It was an attack on not just the other Obaseki nation. Tomorrow it could be you, it could be you, it could be the next person. And that is just it. I think I'm a victim of a much more institutional arrangement, and I will not take this lie low. By the grace of God, this will free all of us. Because
now,
Edo
Dr. Obaseki
is not what we saw. Yes, sir.
Dr. Obaseki, thank you so much. I know it's never easy relieving this, your harrowing experience. Thank you for giving us a full picture of what transpired that day. Very, very sad, and hearts really go out to you. I was going to ask you a question before you got to the law enforcement part about, you know, Nigerian police, and if nobody came to your rescue while you were going through this ordeal, but you actually told us that you were detained by members of the Nigerian police. And my next question is, how do you want to seek redress when the Nigerian police seems to be a party that has contributed to your sad experience? What's the next step forward for you? How do you plan to seek redress, knowing that your rights have been grossly violated and you've been humiliated in such a manner?
You see, Benin say, Ezegbowan, Ezayemo. The first thing to keep us in no say we not go drive motor. You know, that the river may drown doesn't mean we shouldn't still drink water or swim in it. I understand my fundamental rights under the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, particularly the rights to dignity of the human person and personal liberty. I also understand in the Police Act, you know, police regulations and established professional standards governing lawful arrest and detention. I also understand Nigeria's obligation under regional and international human rights, you know, that prohibits such degrading treatment, arbitrary detention, and prohibiting torture. So because of this, I have decided to seek redress both criminally and civilly. I have the list and names of those persons who have involved, particularly the ringleaders like Osaze Adum, who everybody calls him Beni Kapotwe. Osayande Obakawaye, the man that was the young guy that was on the white shirt that was pulling me, and the one on the blue shorts. Osamede no less Rio. Osamiefa, who is actually a night watchman, just being in the palace there. They call him Sis Guy. I know them. People in Benin know them. So I'm asking that persons who have so brazenly, publicly, and streamed live my kidnap and abduction should be brought to book, except Nigeria no longer exists as a nation of laws. I am not going to stop there. I think that I am going to seek an order that there should be an immediate and impartial investigation into the actions of the persons that were involved in my abduction, my assault and detention. Okay. I'm going to ask that they determine the role of any of the officers, anybody who were involved in my unlawful detention and in making my release contingent upon a non-state authority. And I will also ask that the issue of appropriate disciplinary and criminal proceedings against all persons if they are found culpable, regardless of status and affiliation.
Okay.
And I ask that the Nigerian government, the apparatus of state, safeguard my life, liberty, and that of my family in the light of the very explicit threats they made against me during the incident. You see, the videos weren't done by me. The videos were also done by persons sympathetic to me. They were done by persons who wanted to disgrace, humiliate, and destroy me mentally and psychosomatically. So I see that as the hand of God. Because if there was no recordings and I had gone through this albeit unknown, it would just be me screaming and it would be my words against theirs. No, it is their videos against them. I was just the victim in the picture.
All right.
But this victim is not going to remain a victim. My victimization is the last. Is the last. Because that is not who Edo people are. That is not a representation of us. What you saw was the worst of us being used to elementally gag, tag, disgrace, abduct, beat, dehumanize the best and the rest of us. That cannot stand, because tomorrow it just could be anybody. It just could be the man who is a senator now today, the man who is a governor now or a governor yesterday, the man who is a minister today. So when street urchins, when non-assailants who happen to be on the purse strings of certain persons' eye feel that they should carry out something for whoever their paymasters are, the next victim could just be you. Even you in the interview me so. If you just come Benin, they don't like what you talk for Central, for New Central, they go drag you for street. That is not Edo.
Well, we sympathize with you, Dr. Pedro Obaseki.
Exactly. The reason why you see people like me are speaking against this satanic act by the criminals in Edo State, by the tout Agberu killers in Edo State, is because to prevent it from happening again in the future. It could be you that is clapping for them today. It could be you tomorrow. It might not happen this way. You might say, no, I will not do things that will make this happen, but it might happen. It might be mistake of identity. It might happen in a different dimension, in a different way that you cannot ascertain. Then you go know, say, for those of you that will see what is wrong, you will be supporting it. This is the end of it. For me, I'm 100% in support for these criminals to be brought to justice. 100 support. I support it 100%. I'm happy that my Oba disassociated himself out of it in totality. Then let the case begin. But I'd like also to listen to another interview here quickly before I will recapitulate back to how it happens and everything that happens.
Of an incident that happened yesterday where the highly respected Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki was attacked by a mob, by some youths, and they were so dehumanized. It was stripped naked, dragged across the streets of Benin City, and all of that. I don't know if you follow that story. What you make of it? Because this seeming, trend of mob action, gangsterism is becoming so prevalent and common in the state today. I'd like to get your perspectives on this.
Yes, I condemn that action in totality. If you follow what has happened, the argument is that Don Pedro insulted the Royal Palace of Benin while he was in London. I'm asking myself one question. If the man, funny enough, Don Pedro is the chief of the palace, he's an enogi of a community around the local government area of Edo State. If somebody of his caliber commits such an offense, does the palace not have mechanism of discipline with his chiefs? Why the resort to thuggery? You recall that this same thing happened when the opening of MOA was to take place. This same set of thugs were the ones that were sent to disrupt MOA. If you follow the conversation and narratives on social media, Anybody that spoke against either the activities of the palace or the way certain issues have been managed in the state, there is this boasting on social media that anytime they are cited in the state, they will be dealt with. And that is exactly what they have done to Don Pedro. The police is culpable in this. When the man was dragged all the way from Uwa, the videos were already trending. Or to the point where he was taken to the palace, and the palace now insisted that he should be taken to the police station. The question you ask yourself is, which offense did he commit? Don't forget, the commissioner of police from the report visited him in the police station about 2 or 3 times before he finally ordered his release. What offense did he commit in the first place? The police that ought to be the custodian of individuals' rights, when in a way, looking the other way, if they continue in this, the cycle of violence you find in this state will not stop. These young men who carried out this action are well known. Rather than taking action, rather than get them arrested, it appears that they have special protection from those in state authority. Society that promotes hooliganism, thuggery, is not a civil society. Such a society is in a Hobbesian state, the state of nature, where those who are strong will always oppress the poor. And we cannot continue like this. I condemn this action in totality. Don Pedro is a personal friend. We share ideas about what can make this society better. Rather than helping this society, we take to the path of violence. It is not good for our society. And I urge the commissioner of police to arrest the individuals who humiliated a man of his caliber. The best I know is that there's free speech. If a man abuses you, you have a right to abuse him back, rather than take it to self-help. Is what the law frowns against. The governor of the state.
Dr. Dan, I'm deeply concerned by the seeming situation wherein these young guys, they have now made themselves to become the accuser, the prosecutor, the counsel, and the judge. What gives them that, effrontery to act in this stead is still something of a huge concern. And if you watch that video clearly, you'll find the point they got to the palace, and the palace chief who responded to them said, this is the period of ceremony. This is a period of merrymaking. People are happy. People are celebrating. We don't want crisis in the land. So, in a sense, the palace has dissociated itself from this action by these young men. And where we have this kind of situation wherein people now arrogate powers to themselves to designate certain people as being the Oba's enemy and not the Oba's. It is the revered monarch who has that authority, that prerogative to so designate anyone who has run foul of the laws of the land as an enemy. Exactly. Until that happens, these young people, these youths who have now constituted themselves into some sort of authority, do they have that liberty to do so? And I also heard you saying that the security agents are culpable in this matter. If someone of Dr. Pedro's status could be taken from Owa, forced to march round, that long length of road until he got to the palace or got to the police station. So anything could have happened along the way. And yes. I'm just concerned. I'm really, really concerned that we've gotten to this level where people will just arrogate powers to themselves. They will execute those powers in broad daylight, even in presence of security agents, and then we're here.
What I will say is that this have state backing. Look at the individuals on that video. If you can get the pictures of those in the Moa case, these same individuals were the individuals involved. The summary of all of it is that they are backed by the state. What many of these people fail to realize is that you don't build a society on violence. You don't build a society on thuggery. You end up chasing the wise men, the civil individuals who can bring investment into the society.
Exactly. Exactly.
I watched a video of one of your staff that was posted on social media, Sydney Shaka, about a man whose fence, because of the heavy flooding in the area, the fence fell, and the man wanted to redo the fence, and they asked him to pay 500,000 for the evaluation of his land. He has stayed for 10 years. But who will listen to that man? Will the police be ready to protect the man? We are pushing our society to a state of lawlessness. And those in power, this is a preparation to what we are going to see in 2027. They are boldly individuals. What you are going to see is that if you speak against the ruling party, the ruling government, they will send these individuals after you, and you will be beaten up just to silence you. Should we continue like this? Should we continue like this? I imagine the trauma Don Pedro would have gone through since yesterday till now. A man who has produced films to promote the Benin culture, the man who has spoken well about the Benin culture. Those who want to go into politics, in politics, there are bound to be political disagreement. And what I found very funny, this dealing with Pedro is a product of the fact that he aligns with his cousin, former governor of the state, Governor Obaseki. And that is why any individual associated with him, there's a deliberate attempt to say they will deal with him or her. What is the genesis of all of these issues? It's about the governance of the state, the governance of the society. If we want the society to be good for all of us, why don't we obey the laws of the land? Laws are made for the benefit of the individuals, for the benefit of society, so that we will have a system that works for all. Every now and then, once there's a little disagreement, young men are recruited to deal with the individuals. And unfortunately, the young men are not thinking about their future. They have allowed these individuals who are urging them on to continue in the lifestyle they've lived over the years. They will raise children in the same trajectory. And you have people who are hooligans. You cannot drive fully on the street. You cannot express your mind about any issue. And we want to say, this is the type of Edo state we want. The state government will come out and tell you now that they have no hand in it. But will they deal with the individuals that were involved? Will you get them arrested or try them for their action? Like I said, the preparation towards 2027, their plan is to continue to harass individuals that speak against the government or those in authorities. I expect the spokesperson of the palace to call the individuals who are involved in this. If people speak against the king or the palace, the spokesman of the palace or the spokesman of the palace is in a position to react that this is not what the palace represents. But we keep quiet over all of this. Statements have not been issued after almost 24 hours after this incident. I will continue to live. Watch.
Yes, that particular video was made after, before the statement was released from the Oba Palace. Yes, there was a statement by my Oba that they don't have anything at all to do with this, animalistic behavior. And I projected that particular statement here on that particular day. In fact, I applauded some of the palace chiefs, most especially one particular one. His name is called Ebonoto. That man did excellently well, because his statement was the palace is not a place to exercise or embrace this kind of act. On that particular video, he said that. So I emphasized on it. So for me, I'm very happy now that the palace have disassociated themselves out of this so that the case can triumph smoothly. Yes, that's how it should be. What is wrong is wrong. If anybody disrespect the palace, they should be penalized by the palace. As long as our Oba of Benin, the king of our Benin kingdom, have pronounced, his pronunciation, his action must be respected at all time. But on this case, our Oba did not pronounce nothing. Our Oba did not send them to do this. And I'm happy. Remember, from day one, I call that our Oba of Benin must release a statement if he's to disassociate himself from this. I call every blessed day I was calling, and they did. And I was so pleased with that. Because this satanic act shouldn't by any way be associated, be affiliated to the Oba of Benin, to the Benin Kingdom. No. And for those of you that is supporting this act, like I said, don't worry. It will get to your turn. Like I said, it might not happen this way. It might happen, maybe you just went to the market to buy something and somebody stole tomatoes from the other end. As they were pursuing the person that stole tomatoes, and the person put on the red shirt, the same red shirt, for example, you were putting on, or a yellow shirt, similarity. And the person managed to escape, and they saw you, they started beating you up. Before you will explain that, no, not be me, oh, not be me, oh, not be me. Maybe at that time you'd already buy. Yes, that is what usually happens to those that support jungle justice. Yes, you are clapping today that yes, now you get one white block just now, one lunatic white block just now. You know, and because it not be evening, my admins are not there. I have to block you myself, saying that nobody should support anybody insulting the palace. Nobody on my platform can support such rubbish. And nobody on my platform should support this satanic act, beating Dr. Pedro Obaseki, parading him through the state, through the city, before arriving at the palace. Nobody should support that. What is wrong is wrong. I'm even happy that our Oba disassociated himself, because that's what I was wishing, hoping, waiting for, and it happens. That they are not part of it. They don't have anything to do with it. They are not aware of it. I read the letter on this platform myself, and I applauded the chief, most especially Abonoto, if I'm pronouncing his name well, who stood firm that the palace can never support this on that particular day while Dr. Pedro was on his knee. What is wrong, no matter what or whoever that is involved. My people, watch this video again. Now, yeah, in my Benin language, Oba Wenarieri, it means our Oba say make we bring gun. They lied against our monarch, because our Oba never have anything to do with these criminals. You also heard one of the criminals there saying that if he doesn't move, I will shoot him. Listen, before I say I change him, listen when he was saying it. You see, if you don't follow us, I go shoot him. I go shoot him. Everything appears on the video. Why some of you are still saying that, yes, they did right. I just hope justice takes place. When I hear that one, the guy that put on glasses saying, "You want die? Make we shoot all of una." When I hear him, let me play it again. When I see him, this particular one here. So you think we should allow these criminals to be existing in our states? You think I should sit down for these criminals, touts, killers, agberu, to be associated to my great kingdom? No, never. Never. The law must take its place.
What you mean by that word? They are calling you. Let's go. You are
Very sad. This is where we find ourselves. Anything that is wrong is what they are embracing now. The dwarf in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, the dwarf, he went, this is the same dwarf that insulted the LR of Obaseki for so many years. He even called Obaseki different kind of names and all that. But Obaseki satanically invited him. They worked together. They dined and they ate together. Yeah, this is what happened to our government. Then this same dwarf also insulted the current governor heavily. He called him different kind of unpredictable names and all that. Currently, the dwarf is in Benin now, also working with this particular government. Watch this video.
How they feed us? Hey guys, a mega comrade live from government house. This is not that. This is network. They frustrate us. So see, I'm double chief. Asiwaju. What not pull hand though?
No, cut it, pa.
What not pull hand? We are too sophisticated to be blackmailed. So NTA, they frustrate me. The network, they frustrate me. Guys, I just want to let you all know that everything is good. We are going to be hitting a radio station right now. From there, go from one place to another as the prophet of the government. Prophet Mega Comrade Clemente Ranomigo Edegbe. I don't collect anybody job. I am a prophet of Senator Modu Bewolo. My own is to go and tell the whole world. Yo, sorry for some people. That is why some Nigerian media, they fuck up. See, show that they watch me when I share this video. My own is to go and tell the whole world the work His Excellency Senator Mondo Kwewolo is doing. Not be all those Agabagebe. I don't want to hear cho. May I tell you, I am a bone you cannot crack. I will carry you go Abuja. I know they play. Fuck with me. Fuck with me. Governor no go even hear am. I no go even tell governor before I pick you. Carry you go Abuja. Oga, you go dead there. You go dead there. Don't mess with me. I mean, come on. What are you talking about? Bullshit. Bullshit, motherfucker. If you don't get proof, no allege. If you allege, you must prove. Person when he say at the camp, he must prove him. You go Abuja, go prove him. If you don't prove the resurrection letter when I resign for APC, you will go jail for it. Because you are trying to blackmail me, make I call you. Say make I call you, I come bribe you, I give you money. Because I don't call you, I go to write nonsense. I go to write nonsense. Oh boy, you go prove him. And I don't first send him money, he don't drink my drink.
That the warrior so.
Why the warrior? He don't drink my drink. I don't send that money. I don't even help him. I say, now Benin the worry Benin. Not be Okpewolo the worry Edo South.
No at all.
Now Edo South. Now the worry Edo South.
Tell them.
Governor Okpewolo not the worry Edo South. Now Edo South. Okay, who the rat nonsense now? Not be Edo South.
Edo South.
Hey son, half a man they embrace me. Now half a man I carry me. No governor.
Confirm.
He says, say. The former minister of...
Okay, I'll just stop that dwarf from speaking. I wanted you guys to see that this is where we find ourselves. Our government are so desperate to the extent that they can work with anybody. You know, even though these people are the biggest problem they have in the state, they will still work with them. We have a long way to go in Nigeria. I'm telling you. This satanic dwarf that you just listened to now is a very, very poor individual. Now he's in Benin now, or is with the government now to find a way to get money to, you know, to elevate himself from his backwardness after 50 years in America. This is where we find ourselves. A lot is going on in my state. A lot is going on in Nigeria. The only way we can have that better Nigeria that you and I crave for, you must stand for what is right. Regardless of the criticism that comes to you, stand for what is right. So I support Don Pedro Obaseki to push this case, you know, to the highest level to make sure that these criminals are brought to book. Thank you very much, my people. I appreciate every one of you. I'll see you guys again by 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Let's continue to talk about the things that are affecting us. Those of you that joined us today, I appreciate every one of you. Thanks for your time. Mother for Mommy Diaspora, thank you very much, Mommy, for being here with us every day. I'll see you guys again in the evening. Thank you, Patty Solomon, Madam Amy, and many, many others right there. Stephanie, thank you. Adelaja Ogumbuyi, I saw you as well, my brother, and many others. Juliana, thank you very much, man. Guys, I'll leave you guys now. I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.